So as you can see, the bike's on the lift. Now basically starts the deconstruction process. I'm gonna basically take you guys along as I start this. I'm not gonna tear the bike completely down because I need it to sort of retain its stock shape so that I can test fit my parts with interacting with the OEM parts. So basically, yeah, we're gonna just start tearing into this thing right now. So this plastic fender, I think it's too angular for what I'm going for with this bike in terms of trying to make it a little more familiar with older Harley, let's say classic Harley shapes, a little more rounded. That's sort of what I'm going with this whole thing. I'm basically going to replace this fender with something off a different bike and then modify it a bunch. I think I'm going to use an AirTech fiberglass fender that I actually have on another bike. This mimics the same shape as that stock fender, so basically just something a lot smoother. I'm going to add in like a trim detail on the front of this. But yeah, I think this is off an older Buell, so basically you're going to keep it sort of Harley there too. This whatever, it's a little short in the back, I think, as well. Doesn't really give as much coverage to this radiator as I think it probably needs to. But again, just it's more of an aesthetic thing, I think, for the street look I'm going for. So yeah, this is going away for sure. If you didn't know, this thing just pops off. There you go. I got a lot of plans for this. I think my main inspiration is going to be T-Sport, Dyna T-Sport. And I always thought that this, with the adjustable windshield, is very T-Sport-esque. So, a couple things. I mean, again, I am taking inspiration from T-Sport, but I'm not just trying to make this into a T-Sport. I want to basically, like, that same thought process mixed with the fact that this is a brand new bike and sport touring being my sort of vision for this thing. The new Lowrider STs have an option in the fairing for the Rockford Fosgate speakers and amp. I'm kind of thinking about trying to integrate that into this. Maybe behind here, doing speaker pods. Speakers aren't really my thing, honestly, in all honesty, but I think it's something that, given the fact that it's in the new Sport Touring Lowrider, it should be in the new Sport Touring Pan America. So I'm going to try to work on that. That opens up a whole can of worms in terms of like the extra weight on this. This is plastic. I might have to remake all this out of metal or a billet or something. So trying to figure all that out. What's going to be not the easiest way to go, but the least headache and still have it work. Figuring out if this thing even needs to move anymore. I mean, like I said, I rode with this thing in the up position 100% of the time. I put it down for about 1 second and I went, nope, that's not going to work. So it stayed up. So I mean, if it stayed up, this could kind of be cleaned up a little bit even. That's an option. But if I do that, it's a lot of extra weight. I'm thinking about where I'm going to mount to, how I'm going to affix it and make it not look terrible. This may get played with in terms of shape, but I do sort of like it. I am starting with a lowrider, I mean not a lowrider, a Sportster tank base for this, the new Sportster tank base, which this is aluminum, going with a steel tank base. It's smaller. That is going to change this protrusion, this angle, and the relationship between this fairing, which, to be in all honesty, I do like it. I actually like the fact that this bar and shield logo rides off onto the fairing. If I change this, then this angle may be a little bit different, so this may get changed in relation to what this is. That's all gonna, this is gonna be the hard part, making the tank and with all the other stuff I'm doing to the tank. So once that's sort of done and where it needs to be or has to be or where it ends up, this will get tailored to it and hopefully make it all look good. Definitely these Crashbars, I think it's nice. Like I said, I added these highway pegs, which came in handy for sure. I I don't know if I need all of this protection, being is that it's going to be sort of an on-road bike. One crash bar I think is enough, meaning I think I'm going to get rid of it back here, maybe ride this line and then down the front edge of this radiator, because I do think I'm going to keep these. I think this sort of lends itself to the look of the Pan America. They may come off, they may change, I'm not positive. That all sort of depends on what's going to happen with this, because this is such a focal point of this bike that once I start changing this may look too angular or too out of place. So this may get changed, in which case that would dictate where this is going to change. But as of now, I think I am going to eliminate this crash bar, add another crash bar, and then also, again, have a provision for a highway peg or something up front. This, you know, this is just literally a plastic cover. You know, this is always a crazy focal point on Harley, so it definitely needs something here. Maybe just not this. But again, what can I do to bridge the gap between what we're comfortable with and what we know as classic Harley styling and what fits on this? I am thinking about adding, there is a velocity stack that they offer in the parts catalog for Sportsters, which I'm still up near. I don't know if it's functional or not. I think it may be, but I intend to sort of make it functional and have it connected up to the airbox somehow. So I'd like to have a functional sort of air scoop here, as you know, as well as the front of the tank, and then possibly thinking about, you know, sort of going back to traditional styling, maybe even an oval air cleaner, sort of again T-Sport reminiscent. Maybe it's going to be texture black. Heat shield. You know, obviously I probably am going to run a heat shield. I don't know. It's not going to be that. It'll be modified. I don't know if this is going to get played with or not. But, you know, honestly, the head pipe design is pretty good. There is some weird exhaust flange stuff going on up here that sort of makes this a little bit difficult to just make, you know, head pipes for. I am going to modify all of this down here and eliminate a bunch of stuff, and, you know, this was just sort of a temporary solution for the trip. I am making a full exhaust for this thing, but I think I am going to utilize the factory head pipes on this thing. They're not going to be all colored like this. They'll be full polished out. I don't know. I mean, that screams Dyna to me all day long, but we'll see. We'll see how this works out. I mean, this is literally just for visual. Probably end up making something, obviously, but you know what I'm going for here. This angle is not working for me at all. I get it. It's off-road. It's way too steep. I'm looking for something that's flowy, 2-into-1, little bit of kick up. I'm not even generally a fan of kick up. Who knows? Maybe it might even go straight. I'm not sure yet. But yeah. So in another video, I talked about the seat. I probably talked about the bag rail stuff. Right now, I have a prototype being made. I actually made a prototype by hand. I'm now sending it out to get cut and bent. That's going to work into this factory plastic piece that will hang down just below this. It mounts all inside of this. So if you wanted to, you could run the bags like I had on my trip for long distances or whatever. My bracket will just bolt in with a couple bolts, really easy. And it will allow you to run the ST hard bags if you want. And it will also allow you to run the new, let's call them T-Sport bags, canvas or Cordura and leather, like basically like kind of new versions of the of those bags. That will allow those bags to go here. So you'll basically have, with my brackets, an option to run the ST bags, the new T-Sport bags, take the bracket off with 2 bolts, and then you can run your regular factory tour bags like I had. But this is, I have found out that this kind of was a problem, maybe even from the factory, and they've broken. I'm going to get rid of this and probably just make my own version of this that will integrate Again, the taillight housing, this whole plastic piece will stay on my version. Because again, I made my brackets to work with this. So it's sort of OEM on off. The seat we obviously already talked about. You know, it may slightly change in shape, but I think that's kind of where we're at with that. And then yeah, I gotta take this sucker off because I broke it on the trip. But yeah. I've already installed the bare knuckle like rear fender eliminator. You know, does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's nice and clean, easy to deal with. These rear turn signals may get moved slightly depending on once the bags are on where they sit, because there are little cutouts for turn signals in the bags. So depending on where the bags sit, this may get moved slightly. Which at whatever point that is, I'll just modify this. This is all going to get modified and cleaned up for when I do the rest of the finish work on this bike. But yeah, this thing worked great. These big old cast passenger foot peg mounts are going to be coming off. I do still need to utilize this because this is where that factory bag clamps onto. But my plan is to run a bagger slim passenger footboard in the back that folds up. Again, kind of giving a nice shape to all this and giving it a, you know, Dyna passenger floorboards are a cool accessory. That's kind of where I'm going with this. So yeah, this will all get eliminated. And once I remake this, it might be a little tighter and a little higher just for the sake of aesthetics. But I do need to figure out what's going to happen here, because this is a specific piece that the factory OEM bag has to have to work. So I'm either going to cut this off or possibly remake something about the same thickness or shape and work it into this.